Hey guys, good morning. Sorry I haven't posted anything in a long time about my truck. This is my 1987 crew cab dually. I did a Cummins swap in. Today I've been getting a lot of questions and emails and stuff about a few things, so I'm gonna go over a couple things today. If you do a hydro boost truck, you have to have like the hydro boost on a Chevy. If you keep the Chevrolet hydro boost system, you have to have two returns. There's going to be two returns, and there's two ways that you can do it. There's one way you can drill and tap into here, you can drill and tap into there, and then put your hose into that, and then call it a day. Or you can do what I did and just put a T in it, because I ran a bigger power steering cooler. Not because that I needed to, I had it, and eventually I think I am just going to drill and tap into the top of that housing and just put that hose back into there. I don't really know if this truck needs it, or, we'll see what happens. That's basically the hydro boost and all the Dodge stuff. All the Chevrolet like fittings and all that stuff that go into the power steering pump and whatnot. They're all national pipe threads, so they all go back into each other. It's not hard to figure out. The radiator, I used the '93 Dodge radiator, the intercooled version, because I used the first gen intercooler. Made the mounts for them. These are a little shoddy. These are the first time that the mounts that I made. I'm eventually going to take these out and copy them and remake a lot better set. I had to do that because I had to use the Dodge intercooler, the Dodge radiator, so I could run the intercooler right next to it. And I could have used the Duramax one and got a little bit of wider radiator, but you don't want to use the stock Chevy radiator, because the ports on it are too small. These are 1 3/4. I think the ones that are on the stock Chevrolet are just either like 1 or 1 1/4 or something like that. The intercooler pipe, I'm eventually going to get a piece bent. I've only had this thing on the road like a month or two, and I'm just now getting to where I can work the bugs out of it. The alternator and the alternator flip I got from TN Diesel Power. He sent me an alternator. I think it's a Chevrolet, that's out of a Chevrolet alternator. It's from a C60. It's 160 amp. The plug just plugged in the back of it, and I ran it just like a Chevrolet alternator. And that's pretty much, the alternator. It wasn't that bad. That's the AC flip. So you can get the AC flip up away from the frame, so you can actually don't have to cut your frame. I think that whole kit was about $800. The motor mounts and stuff like that you can build. They're not that hard. If I can get around to them. The stock Chevrolet oscillators. 2 pieces of 1/4 inch steel cut, and then you just mount them to the back side of the motor. And then it's not bad. If you got some time and a plasma cutter and a welder, you can do it. The only thing pain in the ass, like once you actually get a bigger turbo in here, is you got to build this piece, a whole bunch of 90s, really, really sharp, so you can actually get an air filter on that turbo, because the alternator sits too far back. It's too big of an alternator really to put anything back there, so you got to make that piece. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Wiring. There's only 4 wires to this truck to get it actually running. You have one that goes to your injector harness. They're your fuel cutoff solenoid. And then I ran that one directly from the 12-volt source that was actually going to the coil pack. Got an 87, it's a pink wire. Then this little guy, it's going to be orange. It's an orange wire that actually goes to your starter. Like whenever you pull your Chevrolet engine out, you're going to have your starter 12 volt that goes to your, the back side of your starter, and then you're going to have this. This is a 12 volt constant wire that's actually hooked, that has to be 12 volt constant. So this wire comes up to that junction box, and then that junction box feeds the rest of your the console, or feeds the rest of all your fuses and all your other stuff on the inside of it. Whenever I first did this, this is the first time I've ever done this swap, so I had taped this wire off whenever I pulled the engine out because I actually thought it was hot. And then I'd let it dangle, and I put this all in here, and then I couldn't figure out why my windows didn't work or anything else like that. So then finally I found it, and I was like, well, I'll just plug it up and just see what happens, and then everything else works. And then you have a purple wire and another red wire that goes down to your starter. The purple wire is actually the one that goes up top, and that's your 12 volt remote that goes through your key. And then you have your battery set up. You got to be sure and ground your engine to your battery, and then your 12 volt power to the starter, which how this one is. I have one Optima battery because it has a dual post set up, and I ended up using it. And then you just run your power to the other side, and then your alternator goes to that other battery, and then it charges both of them, and then you just ground. I grounded the engine again over here on this side, and then grounded it to the frame. If you don't have very good grounds in a Chevrolet, you're going to be chasing problems all day long. Just like how I have my HIDs I got a problem with my HIDs right now, and I don't know what's wrong with them, so I got to figure that out. It's pretty much the engine that's in here. Oh, and for throttle linkage, I think I said in another video before that you had to cut it. You don't. It's funny that the plug actually just plugs in back to the firewall back there, and then the pedal is actually good enough to where you can just overlatch it on the Chevrolet pedal, and then your throttle linkage is there. You didn't have to modify anything for it. I looked out with, the fan, you can see that it doesn't have very much room at all, and it's stayed there. I haven't popped a radiator, I haven't done anything, so it hasn't moved, and I've driven this truck a couple 100 miles at least now. The whole thing that I'm doing now is just chasing down leaks. I know my transmission leaks right now from one of the shaft seals that's actually behind the transmission housing, where the 4 bolts go to it, because it's a get rag. It leaks down in the bottom one, and I gotta separate the transmission to fix it. Your heater hose wires are the same, or your heater hose, they're the same. They go, to inlet, and I don't know if there's a certain way that they had to go, inlet and outlet, but the heater works. So I think one was bigger than the other, and I think that was the inlet and the outlet. That's pretty much the engine bay. If anybody else has any other questions, I've given my email address out a couple times. I'm going to go into the cab a second. The last time y'all seen this in here, it was full of junk, and it still is. I have my back's my emergency tool set, but I've cleaned out the front a lot so I can actually drive it. For up here, This was the automatic. This was the automatic four-wheel drive hole. I just covered it and bolted the stock Chevrolet cover back down. I cut the hole for the Dodge transmission to come up, and then for the Chevrolet, you know, or I used the Chevrolet actual four-wheel drive cover that went here. I just beat it around on the other corner and bolted it into place, and it actually looks pretty clean that way. That's, you know, that's not that bad. And then this, I never thought I'd get finished. I still have to cut this because whenever I ordered my clutch pedal assembly offline, it never came with the brake pedal one. And counting, if you get a brake pedal one that has like a vacuum booster, the actual knot that's actually in the pedal is a different place than the one that actually for hydro boost. It's lower or higher, I can't remember. So you have to have a hydro boost pedal with a hydro boost system. You can't use either or, it's not going to work. So I had to keep my hydro boost pedal anyway. I just need to cut it. This was probably the biggest pain in the ass out of the whole thing, was changing this pedal assembly. There's 4 bolts that's on the back side of it. You have 2 bolts that's up in here. Unless you take your whole steering column out, then you can do it, you know, easy. But I didn't, and I just let it sit down on the seat. I pulled everything out. There's a couple of things that's actually attached to it. Your electric locks. Your electric locks is on a ground system. If you pull it out and that one of those solenoids aren't connected back up there, and you wonder why your electric locks aren't working, that's going to be it. Right now, the only gauge that I have that's still factory that works is this one, my alternator. The other ones you can get to work, but I think it's just that my gauge cluster's messed up, and I've hooked them up, you know, to the sending units and tried to run them, and they don't work. So I got to figure it out or get a whole new gauge cluster and all that. That's a whole bunch of money that that I don't have in this truck right now, so I'm doing fine without it. I got the gas gauges to work actually. That's not very hard neither. As long as I tried to use diesel sending units actually in the tank to get it away from it. Well, that didn't work out the first time because the tanks actually had baffles in there, so whenever the sending units would come down, it'd only show a half a tank. So you have to use carbureted ones in the tank and then run the return line to the other side of the tank so it doesn't aerate the suction side of it. But other than that, I mean, look, once you get that done, you build you a transmission mount, you know, similar to that. You know, like just basically how the Dodge transmission bolted in, had to plate the 2 things on the bottom, and then just bolted this, you know, to the frame. The frame's like 36 inches wide. And then other than that, I mean, you got your Cummins swap Chevy truck. But this whole truck took me about 6 months. I got a few hundred miles on it now, probably more than that, probably close to 1,000, and I love it. Everywhere you look, everybody's always looking at it. But there's a couple other videos, the truck actually running. You know, trying to do this thing with this, you know, try to do like an informational video with it running is very, very hard. So if you have any other questions, just let me know. Oh, by the way, the springs actually ride pretty good. I mean, they're a beefy ass set of springs, but I mean, it actually rides pretty good. It takes the weight, and this truck kind of rides like a Cadillac actually. And I'm gonna airbag the front and airbag the back. So if you have any other questions, just hit me up on Outlaw Diesel Truck Club at gmail.com, or my personal is Texas_outlaw_Cummins at Yahoo. And just comment on this video if you have any other questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Alright, thanks guys, I really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. There's going to be a couple mudding videos, like once it actually rains. And I'll keep, as this project gets more and more, I'll update everyone else. Alright, thanks guys.